Before we start, I did want to make a little bit of a plug here. If we wouldn't mind jumping to the next slide. This is a photo of our fantastic Databricks team at Avanade. We had the pleasure of being awarded Global Partner of the Year for 2023 last night. This is our fifth consecutive year, and we are extremely proud of the work that we've done together with Databricks, and we're thankful for the partnership. We can skip this slide. So my name is Thomas Kim. I'm a solutions architect here at Avanade within the Azure Center of Excellence. I'm also a Databricks champion and one of over 3,000 practitioners of Databricks that we have at Avanade. In my role, I get to drive growth of our data platform modernization business by working with our clients to help them extract the value that they want from their data, and part of that includes working with great partners such as Databricks to help find the right solution for the most challenging problems that our clients have. I'm really excited to welcome two very special guests today. I'll let them introduce themselves, but first, Dael.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet everyone. So I'm Dael Williamson, EMEA Field CTO at Databricks. So what that means is I have a really great job. I get to fly around the world. I speak to customers and literally just help with, the T stands for therapy. So I help with, figuring out how to navigate their way forward and feeding that back into our amazing organization. So that we can figure out how to move the market and all of those things. I'm also a proud Avanade alum, so it's really great to be on stage with you all today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe Durand. I'm a product manager here at Databricks. I work on Delta Live Tables, which is our declarative ETL framework. So I work between customers and engineering, work on the roadmap, how we can unblock our customers using DLT, Delta Live Tables, DLT for short. And excited to meet you all and to be on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dael and Zoe. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thanks. So what we've got teed up for this session is I'm really excited to have representation from CTO to product to the system integrators who's helping clients, and hopefully some representation from clients in the audience that a lot of this conversation will resonate heavily with. And so most of us are familiar, for better or for worse, with some of the technology problems and the technical problems that come with implementing these analytic solutions. And whether it's compatibility and connectivity issues with legacy systems, whether it is problems with growing data volumes and performance, query optimization, there's a long list of challenges that we're all very familiar with. But we found that our clients actually have more trouble adjusting to those people and process challenges that accompany any new technology. And so we're excited to hear the perspectives of Zoe and Dael along with those. So first question's for you, Dael. What are kind of the outreach efforts that your office are undertaking right now to better understand your customers' problems?
So just to put it in perspective, I get to speak quite high in the organization to economic buyers, the C-suite. People are looking at it through the lens of I've got all this demand, I've got all these use cases, I want to execute on these things faster. I can't afford to have this huge headcount, so I'm trying to do a lot with very few. So typically one of the big things that surfaces, especially in the sort of data engineering domain, is supply demand. So massive appetite to put loads of use cases into production, and there's a scarcity of talent on the market. It's really hard to find people that know how to really do these things incredibly well and efficiently. And in essence, that's sort of one of the big problem statements where Zoe and I interlock a lot. So we identify customers that are doing really interesting things. I typically have it up here and they tell me something. I get some signals and I'm like, I wonder what's really happening on the ground. And I'll loop in our outreach program, And that's where sort of Zoe and our solution architects and our partners get engaged and try to actually figure out how Delta Live tables and sort of other aspects of the data engineering sort of capability can smoothen out and do really cool things to make that experience much simpler. And we're constantly innovating in this area.
So yeah, Dael, you touched on the shortage of human capital. Zoe, can you talk to us a little bit about Delta Live tables and how that is solving for that problem in one aspect?
Yeah, Delta Live Tables, like I mentioned earlier, is our declarative ETL framework, and what we try to have customers understand is that it does lower the bar for data practitioners to build and operationalize data pipelines at scale. Delta Live Tables provides very easy and familiar APIs with which all data teams are familiar with. We today have 2 APIs, a SQL API and a Python API, and just using very boilerplate familiar statements, your data analysts or data scientists can become data engineers and build operational data pipelines. And Delta Live Tables will automate a lot of the infrastructure and operational aspects of building out those pipelines, and this could be things like scaling cloud infrastructure, with our enhanced auto scaling. It could be data quality. Data quality is a first-class citizen on Delta Live Tables through a framework called expectations. It allows your analysts to easily define rules for what constitutes bad data, and then kind of they can decide whether to let that data flow into the tables and alert on it, they can decide to drop those records, quarantine them, or just fail the pipeline. Many things like that. So like monitoring, cloud, performance optimization, all those things are kind of abstracted away so that your data practitioners can focus on the what, kind of the business logic, and the how that data should be processed, and all the different services that usually need to be focused on get abstracted away. Yeah.
Thanks, Zoe. I love the theme of data democratization that you touched on here. Making it easier for more practitioners throughout the business to be able to, spend time on the things that matter and things that are unique to their business here. One key theme that has been going on throughout this event here is kind of the focus on data governance. For those of you that were at the Partner Summit yesterday, we heard Ali speaking, very enthusiastically about Unity Catalog and how data governance is a big priority for Databricks. I agree. Ali, we are in alignment. If you want to have a conversation about it, you can call me at 503-828-7172. But we're really excited to hear about some of the new updates coming into Unity Catalog and how they integrate with Delta Live Tables. Zoe, if you don't mind touching on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been working a lot on our integration with Unity Catalog, and we're excited to launch this integration in public preview a couple months ago, and we're hoping for general availability by the end of the year. And what we've seen is our customers have been able to use the power of our declarative ETL framework with the power of Unity Catalog, which is unified, centralized governance and security. And so now a data pipeline itself can be governed in Unity Catalog, and also the assets, the data sets that it's writing to. So you can govern your DLT data sets, your DLT pipelines in one single place. And that's been really powerful for our customers. I mean, I'm happy to go into a lot more detail here, but
please, I think we'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been able to support our customers in the isolation that they want to achieve for their organization. So oftentimes, they'll create one or several metastores, depending on sometimes they have strict isolation requirements between their business units. So that'll require several different metastores. Sometimes they'll create a single metastore and they'll define the logical isolation through creating different catalogs. That's kind of what we recommend here at Databricks, but we've seen a variety of architectures. So that's kind of logical isolation that we're able to respect now with our DLT UC integration. some customers also require physical isolation, so they'll define sort of storage locations, different buckets per catalog namespace or per schema namespace. So we're now able to support them too with our DLT UC integration. And that could be things like customers who want a bucket for PII and a different bucket for kind of more the safer data, and they'll manage access differently to those different buckets. So yeah, we've been able to help customers write directly to the right bucket, to the right namespace, have them control access from UC, and have that all work smoothly with DLT. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this concept of observability is really important. When you think of a control plane, it's less about the rigidity and running a tight ship, more so having the visibility into all the pipelines and products that your teams are building for your organization. I know that that's something that, Dael, you feel very passionate about as well.
Well, I live in Europe. Well, actually, I live in the UK, so it's not part of Europe technically anymore. But my remit is EMEA as a patch. EMEA is very wrinkly when it comes to anything to do with data, because we have more rules than you can possibly imagine. We have sovereignty regulation. If you go to the Middle East, the data can literally not even leave the border. In the European Union, you have privacy regulations, so there's a huge emphasis on isolation. There's this huge emphasis on being able to do clever things like exercise the right to be forgotten, which makes all sorts of fun and games when you have to go find data in different pockets, but also you want to keep certain context because of the insights it creates. So isolation is incredibly important for that. Physical isolation is super important for us. We have a slew of other things coming. So the EU AI Act means that one of the key tenets is explainability, observability. Our lineage graph in Databricks is a superpower when it comes to that. It gives you that sort of traceable lineage all the way back to how the data is coming into the lakehouse, what it's doing, the different changes that happens to it along that pathway. And then ultimately, like as you can see with Unity, it's kind of extending all the way into the model ecosystem. So that broad end-to-end lakehouse observability is massively key for us. But that transparency that we get, that assurance that we can give customers, data's not leaving this border, data's not kind of moving from this group to this group, people are accessing it that are allowed to. It's a game changer for us having UC. I think there's a lot of noise about catalogs. Like there was a internal memo that went out last week, which was hilarious. It was like the catalogs are coming, like everyone's announcing a catalog. I think my sort of push to everyone out there is think about the business problems and then look at the catalogs that can address those problems, look at the governance tooling that can address those problems, look at the requirements that are coming all over, because that's typically top-down what we're hearing. Governance is a really big topic, top-down. We're building it from the bottom up, which is an incredibly powerful approach to it. But there's a lot of places that still need to be filled in. And I think what we announced with monitoring and observability is a game changer. But UC is just this, it's only just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to take it back one step, going back to Delta Live Tables, since we have the resident expert here with us. Working with Delta Live Tables, you run into usability features that you learn to appreciate, that the thought that was put into that. And I understand that there's somewhat of a feedback loop that you, as part of the product team, are getting from not just your customers, but also the partners that you work with to help your customers. Can you talk a little bit about that, Zoe?
Yeah, sure. We have something called a PRISM program that I can speak to a little bit. So we've identified different categories of customers. Some of them are already heavy Delta Live Tables users. Others are Databricks users, not using Delta Live Tables, and others are just greenfield opportunities. And we try to speak to all three buckets of customers throughout the weeks. Dael has been helping with that, identifying the right customers to speak to, and make sure we don't get into this kind of feedback loop of just speaking to customers who are already heavy users of our product, because I think that's one of the risks as PMs is always speaking to the same big accounts who, and I think we can sometimes index a little too heavily on that. So we've been trying to expand our customer outreach program, and Dael has helped a lot with that, and to try to get out of this kind of very small feedback loop cycle. A lot of our usability features have come out of that. This quarter we focus a lot in our UI, in browser, in notebook experience, which was severely lagging behind a lot of the other Databricks products. I see nods in the audience. Happy to touch on those in more detail after the session, because we're going to run out of time. And then next quarter, we're going to focus more on integrating with IDEs, so you can easily check in your code and have proper CI/CD with Delta Live tables. So stay tuned for that.
Just to double click on that, like how the identification happens. We have a lot of verticals that we do business with. So finding really interesting usage patterns, like what an oil and gas company might be doing in their renewable space. It's kind of a wind farm problem. Will have a very different context to an airline in a Middle Eastern country, to maybe something like a bank in Switzerland. So moving across all of those gives you a variety of how people use the product, how people are approaching different problems, the variety of data that you get to play with, types of things like that. So that typically is how the field tends to look at the identification and link that back into the PRISM program and this whole outreach. And it's an incredible way of creating visibility globally, but also just an incredible way of learning from our customers and sort of meeting them where they are.
Yeah, and so we have a minute left, and if I were to just summarize this and provide a few key takeaways, it's that governance is important. You have Dael, people like Dael having conversations with customers at the C-suite level, with what they need and what their challenges are. That gets translated down to the product teams who are building the products that can help solve for some of these challenges. And weaved into that, you have system integrators like Avanade who have, you have the capacity and the workforce to be able to deliver these solutions to our customers. And I think the awards and the accomplishments that we've had as as organizations speak to the collaboration that that we have and will continue to have. So thank you all so much for joining. We are at time. You'll be able to hear more of Dael. I believe you have another session coming up, so please go check that out as well. And Avanade has a room in MR5 right around the corner if you want to follow up on any of these topics. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.